Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar, Thriving Through Change in Construction. My name is Maggie Caesar. I'm the Senior Customer Marketing Manager, and we thank you for joining us today. It's no secret why this is an important and hot topic right now. As a nation, or as a planet rather, we've had to completely change how we're working. A majority of us now are working in a remote environment and navigating this new normal, which really isn't normal at all. But we've been hearing a lot of stories from some of our customers and peers about how they're continuing to collaborate with other members of their team, what technologies they're using, how they're continuing to report to their stakeholders, and more. So we wanted to share some of this information with you. So we hope you enjoy the topic and find it informative. So at this time, I'm going to turn it over to Dan Connery, who's the Product Marketing Manager, and he's going to be moderating today and introducing the speakers.
Thank you, Maggie. As Maggie mentioned, my name is Dan Connery, and I'm responsible for product marketing here at Trimble. I am joined today by my colleague, Matt Sprague, who is also in product marketing. Matt will be asking the panelists questions that were asked by our audience during the live broadcast. I am pleased to introduce our three speakers: Nasser, who is the Assistant City Engineer at the City of Sunnyvale; Benjamin, who is the Director of Building Information Management at Yates Construction; and Andrea, who is the System Administrator at the City of Boston. A goal of this session is to provide perspectives both from the owner as well as the contractor. I'll start with you, Andrea. What are you seeing with active projects at the City of Boston?
So, as you probably know from the news, City of Boston has shut down all non-emergency construction sites. So obviously after this closure, we've seen in the builder system a little bit of activity, mostly from the contractor side. They were trying to get paid and they were putting invoices through the city. After a few days of the closure, we haven't seen much activity. However, at the moment, the only active projects that we've seen activity in e-builder enterprise, an emergency project led by public facilities. This project is related obviously to COVID-19. City of Boston is trying to renovate another building in order to accommodate more beds for homeless people to respect the new guidelines for the social distances. However, our example is a little bit different than other organizations because we are on an implementation stage right now. So we are taking this crisis to bring this technology to the fullest in the City of Boston. So we are focusing at the moment mostly on finishing the implementation, on designing new reports, dashboards, training our users, putting all the live projects that we have them on paper or Excel or Google Sheets or other ones. So we're trying to take advantage of all the technologies we have available right now in order to work remotely.
Thank you, Andrea. Benjamin, same question to you. What are you seeing?
Yes, well, being a construction company, we have a number of projects all across the country, from coast to coast. And so part of it is trying to apply the CDC recommendations to an active project and trying to keep it going. So one of the first things was, of course, social distancing. People got to stay apart. And so having electronic project management in place then really helped us because we started realizing keeping people apart, and you get one person that thought they were testing positive, they were sick, turns out it was the flu, but until that test came back 5 days later, who can work and who can't work, who is within 6 feet of that person. And so part of the current state now is trying to split construction teams up. Project managers there one day, assistant project manager the next, and having that electronic system, some means of continuing to communicate, even though one's gone and they're shifting back and forth. Same thing with some of the superintendents trying to shuffle back and forth on who's there, who's not, keeping up where we're there, reviewing drawings. A lot of that has been a challenge working through, and we want to follow the guidelines because we don't want any of our employees getting ill. We also don't want to be spreading this. We also need to be finishing and working on some of our projects because stopping them would be a very bad thing as well. So that's our current state, is trying to work through that, keep things moving, exchange, while trying to watch out for our employees and others around us.
Nasser, Same question to you.
Well, Sunnyvale is in the Bay Area, so we've been in sheltering in place mode since the first week or so of March. Since then, our crews at the city, most of our engineering, construction, and design teams have been working from home. And in my construction, this section that I supervise, we have issued letters to contractors. We actually made a determination at the higher level of the city which projects are deemed essential or not. And it looked at safety and traffic-related projects, transportation projects, and other projects. And we shut down actually 4 projects, and we deemed the other 9 to be essential. And we are continuing construction operations on these projects. Some contractors were cautious, were nervous, some subs were not comfortable, some employees or foremen not comfortable to work. We heard that contractors are working with these guys, allow them to stay home, but they're trying to exercise social distancing as much as they can. For our teams, since we've had eBuilder in place for the past 4 years, all our projects most of the data and the processes are online via eBuilder. So in terms of paper flows, I mean, we have no paper flow. In terms of digital workflows, processes, progress payments, all construction-related activities, they are ongoing, smoothly, seamlessly online with full access through our web-based modules. And that is proving to us now great. And the last 3 days, I called our account manager and said, hey, we finally got Bluebeam to our city. That has been in the works for a while, and get it now. And we got it activated in our account just as today. We're very excited to add one more feature to be much more efficient online. So we are functioning well, and everybody's working as hard as they can from home. And the web-based platform is just awesome to have right now.
Next, I would like to discuss some of the challenges of working from home for owners and contractors. Many at Trimble have been working home for years, so the impact when we were forced to work from home was really minimal. So I'd like to understand, what was the shift of working from home like for you? I'll go ahead and start with you, Benjamin.
Sure. So, of course, for us, that's only a shift in maybe 10 to 20% of our employees, because the vast majority of them are doing physical work on site. And so some of the things we've seen in that shift is the check-ins. We're used to just a face-to-face check-in, and now we have to do a lot more of those check-ins via, GoToMeeting, webinars like we have here, things like that. And so you have to be more persistent in your check-ins with the employees and the people you're talking to. You have to make a point to go in and say, hey, how are things going? And so we find that is trickling down with our trade contractors, our project managers talking to trade contractors. You have to be much more deliberate in some of those conversations than you would have been in the past. That's one of the larger changes. And so a lot more use of web meetings. Like before, you just called the face-to-face, but now almost everything is a web meeting. The camera is getting on. Because we were electronically based coming into it, then it wasn't a mad rush to go find systems like that. We've been using we've been using WebEx for a while, and so that was in place. Larger groups made some changes, trying to get rid of the larger group meetings, which one of the big things we had to do meant larger group meetings on WebEx, and having 30 faces on a screen and trying to sort through and have everybody talk and decide, do we need this many cameras or not? There's been a lot of things trying to figure out, but in reality, I think most of our stuff is kept going, especially on that project management side, fairly well.
So a follow-up question for you. How is the home office set up for people not typically working from home?
I think there's probably more in that than I've already heard stories about, because because I didn't see their camera on the screen there, that probably indicates that they weren't quite ready for that technology shift. And so I'm sure there's more of that coming out, but our IT departments being able to support them from home, for years we were questioned, why do we buy everybody laptops? Why don't we have desktops, save some money and get desktops? And now it's like, hey, that was a convenient decision. Whether that was the reason or not, that worked out well, and people were able to transition fairly easily.
Nasser, same question for you. What was the transition from office to home like?
Well, the first few days was difficult because you gotta set up your office at home. I have it mine on the dining area. That's why it's colored on the back here, so I'm not shy about that. I gotta move in an office soon because this seems to be a long-term thing. At Sunnyvale, working from home was a no. I mean, that was a definite no. But now we are realizing at all levels that this can be done. And there's already some talk about looking at this in the future, how we can mix between here and there. But like Benjamin mentioned, my team checks with me in the morning on Teams app, let me know who is on site, who's in the field, who's working from home. I report to my supervisor every morning by 8:15, and we all know who's working, who's not working. The same thing with our engineering team inspectors. They are out there as well as needed on site. Site meetings are at distance. There's no more office meetings, and everything is done with web browsing and with GoToMeetings or whichever mode for video conferencing. So it totally has changed. I find personally working from home puts you on the spot, because now working from home you don't socialize with your coworkers. You don't drink coffee and warm this, go for a walk or take a lunch break. I'm at home. I gotta show everybody I'm working. You get an email, you respond immediately. You get a chat. Oh, I gotta respond that quickly. Because you're trying to prove that this works, and why not continue in the future? And I think it's a shift with the whole team trying to show that we can do it, and we can come up with the challenge of meeting the times we're going through and make it work and keep our job safe and going forward. It's the bottom line.
Andreea, how about at the City of Boston?
So obviously this was a very challenging time for the City of Boston employees, as we never worked from home previously.
Yeah.
And all this time, in the past few weeks, we as a city, we were able to enable VPN and RDP capabilities for all the city employees in order to work remotely. We have created a specific team to support all the city employees with any issues related to VPN connections or RDP connections. I need to say, to applaud my Department of Innovation and Technology from City of Boston, that were able to ramp up this new technology very quickly, and it was really a big challenge for us, because means our infrastructure now is able to handle a much larger volume of remote workforce. Obviously, we start taking advantage of other technologies like cloud technologies like eBuilder or Google Suite. Obviously, all the meetings now are remotely, and the communication right now are a little, challenging, as people are trying to learn a new technology, Google Hangouts or GoToMeeting or Zoom, to communicate with each other. But I personally see this as a big step in our city to improve technology and teach our users to use new technology. And I see everyone got to stay home and use technology. We're safe. We do our part by doing that.
I told you I'd pop in. So there was a question actually specifically for Andreea that it was asking, is the City of Boston issuing permit and inspections for surge facilities via regular pre-COVID process, or are you guys doing something different? So have any of your processes changed?
So I'm going to have to apologize. I'm not in the position to answer that question, as I work for the IT department and not particularly for the permitting department. But if this question comes from the City of Boston, I would say call 311 and someone will help you with that answer.
So because we have projects all over the country, we've seen a variety there, where we have seen authorities having jurisdiction where their inspectors then are asked not to be inspecting. And some of those have allowed third-party inspecting companies to then step in and do that. Some that have just limited their number of inspections. So there's a wide range of ways that we've seen that being approached. And basically, if sometimes we're rethinking on projects, did we really have to inspect that? Why have we been inspecting that for the past 10 years? What are we really looking at? And so I think there's been quite a bit of that going on too. And so, but trying to balance between that to make sure that we are meeting contracts, getting inspections done, proceeding with some of this critical work that needs to take place while trying to keep everybody safe and healthy.
I don't work for the permitting department and engineering. We have land development that handles this. I really don't know what they're doing, but City of Sunnyvale was really robust in development the last 5 to 6 years, given how the economy was. So they had regular people coming from developers submitting permits for development and also encroachment permits. It's gone down to a halt. The staff go in the office intermittently, but nobody's allowed to come in. So I don't know, to be honest, but I'm sure they're working on it online. But in terms of construction inspections, our inspectors are going to sites. They're keeping distances. They're watching from far what's happening. They're talking, communicating with the contractor via phone or whatever is needed, and it's ongoing. It's not going to slow them down. They do their data reports from their iPads and their trucks and so forth. So this is continuing. It's not stopping. We're maintaining quality control still.
I would like to discuss how you are keeping your employees connected with each other. You've already mentioned some of the video conference technology you're using, which was helpful, but what other advice would you like to offer?
With my team, for example, we used to meet every other week with the construction management team and the inspectors, go over the projects and what's new, what's happening. Now it's weekly. It's a video conference. We check in, everybody asks everybody, how you doing, how you feeling, how's family, and we chat a little bit because we don't meet anymore. And then we go online into the reports and we discuss the project progress and other issues. My supervisor used to meet once every 2 weeks. Now it's twice a week check-in meetings. Even if it's just 15 minutes, it actually helps to keep everybody seeing everyone and chat and smile and see how the work going and talk about work and challenges and what's going on. So along with that, chatting on Teams, that's very handy. Instant chatting, it's quick, it's convenient, it's less formal. Discussions, conversations go quick, and decisions are made very quickly. I've seen us being more efficient working in this environment than being in the office, to be frank, because you know it's important. It's different time. You just get on things, you get an email, chat, you are responding, get it out of the way. Decisions are made and moving forward. So that's how we are keeping that momentum going forward.
Awesome. Andreea?
So obviously, like everyone else, we take advantage of video conferencing. I'm a huge advocate for video meetings. This is an easy approach that can replicate the benefits of face-to-face meetings that we had in the office. And of course, all our meetings right now are using all this technology, Hangouts, Zoom, GoToMeeting. Of course, we also take advantage of specific chat channels that allows us to work on specific topics. Again, I'm going to give a big applause to all those big names that we've been using for the past few weeks to help us continue to do the business as usual. And eBuilder, of course, is one of the tools that we're using on managing our capital projects.
I wanted to share some of the things that we're doing here at Trimble. Our HR team initiated a weekly photo contest for the best meeting screenshot. The winner last week was one of our support teams that created a mask with the image of their vice president, and everyone put on that mask at the end of their meeting and took a picture. Another example are weekly hangouts where teams are getting together socially like they would outside of work. In another case, we did a show and tell with family members, pets, and in my case, I showed everyone my new road bike. We want to keep the human connection going strong during this difficult time.
So I was lucky enough early in my career to have a mentor that told me a change is as good as a break. And so being able to change situations, and that's kind of been taken away from me here recently, because it used to be I'd be at this work location and then I would come home. And so I've been telling the people I supervise directly, make sure you're still changing. And so, hey, when you're into the day, go outside. Don't just switch rooms or do something else. Go outside, or at lunchtime, try to do something different. And you made me think of that when you're saying adding something to that meeting, with a picture or something like that, because those changes in our process are what gives us the breaks that keeps us going. And so that's been something that we've been focused on as well.
In the office, you meet with your coworkers every day, and you spend 8-9 hours a day with them, depending how long you work. It's your second family, and then they're gone. You don't see them anymore as often. You're missing that. So when we have our web conferencing, sometimes somebody has their baby next to them, or the kid jumps in and they come over, say hello. One time I have a newborn, I brought him in and say, hi everybody. Everybody was happy and excited. So you want to continue that touchy family environment that you had in the office into your web conferencing, and that keeps the bond and the connection going, because we're people, we're all struggling the same way, and we miss that outside external connections we used to have. So video conferencing is the only way we have to live with now, so make the best out of it.
That's a good point, Nasser. Over the last 4 weeks, I've been able to meet the children, spouses, and pets of my coworkers during various meetings. These interactions have really provided me the opportunity to create a much deeper bond with the people, and that has resulted in a drastic increase in how well I work with them. I feel I've been able to build trusting relationships with people much more quickly, and I think that's going to benefit the business when we're able to return back to the office.
And that's been a cultural change for us too, because we did quite a few WebEx meetings before. I'm the director of virtual design and construction, so we did a lot of virtual stuff. But now I welcome those moments, and I'm trying to get other people to welcome those moments as, oh, hey, I can hear you, your child in the background asking you a question. Yeah, go ahead, take care of them. How are they doing? And try to actually address it in a positive light as a change right there to make people feel comfortable with some of this new situation we're in.
Now I want to ask you, what would life have been like if you had not invested in a project management information system?
Much challenging. As I said, it's been challenging to move on-site workforce to a remote workforce for the city. And obviously, cloud-based platforms are much easier to use, and they're much user-friendly. So obviously, if we would have all our applications cloud-based, we didn't need to invest on VPN or RDP capabilities, but also user will have an easier access to the application per se. So having eBuilder it definitely was easier for my eBuilder users, because they didn't need those capabilities. They just went to the website and click on the URL and log in, and that's it. For people who are using on-prem systems, obviously it's an extra step. You have to connect to VPN, you have to remote to your desktop, you have to then connect to the application. So cloud-based solution, I feel like in a time like this, helps organizations a lot.
If we didn't have eBuilder, I would have much more gray hair right now. But it would have been like 20 times the emails we're receiving now, or maybe more than that, because every workflow would have to go through each step via email or whatever other system we may have had to get authorized or approved. Let's say it's a progress payment from the contract, and now the contract goes online, starts the process for progress payment. It goes to the inspector, reviews it, goes online to the construction engineer, then goes to the levels of approval within the city, the senior, the assistant engineer, the city director, depending on the authorization of the progress payment we have set up in the process. Now, if I don't have eBuilder, it's an email going for one thing, one email, all the way to finance for payment. With eBuilder, it's all digitally stamped. The contractor goes online, knows exactly where's the step in the process, knows who's the actor is going to do the work, and they see it moving forward. And once it goes to finance, it says check issued and paid and it's done. Similar with RFIs and construction submittals and design submittals, the paperwork and the forwarding would have been tremendous. So with the process we have in place, you know exactly what you have. Not only that, we also have dashboards and processes dashboards and summaries and gauges that tells exactly what's open, where's it at, what's the red flag, what's still in the system, what's been taking too long or just got started. So every Monday morning, we are able to see where everything we're doing is at and what needs to be addressed. Without that, as a manager at home, you'll be losing your mind. You just will have no idea what's in and what's happening. So this way, it's a lifesaver for us, honestly.
Yeah, I was actually going to save this question to the end, but Nasser kind of dovetailed very nicely into
Sorry.
it. No, don't apologize. It's perfect. So someone asked a question specifically for the city agencies. Are workflows completely digital, or do they eventually hit, and I'll use their words, a digital wall and have to switch over to paper at all?
I can answer. I'd say our construction processes are, I'd say about 95% digital. There's some other tiny things you just do by email and stuff, but all the main construction processes, including RFIs, RFQs, change orders, authorization, progress payment, inspector data report, closeout process, all this is digital for us. We don't need emails anymore from the contractors, except for a typical daily communication with contractors. The design team, you know, it is digital, but they lag behind. Now they're paying the price. Some of them who did not save all their files into the eBuilder. Now they have to go VPN and transfer. And I laughed and I smiled at some of them the other day. So it's your fault. I can see all my folders, no problem. So not everybody knows, but I can say this construction about 95%. Design, they have processes in place for progress payments, for vendors, for consultants, for submittals, and so forth. But they're used the paper way for submittals, and that happens sometimes. So we're good. We're in a good place.
Okay. So I think back to when I was managing projects and we didn't have these great systems like Project Site and eBuilder and the other ones we have to deal with that. And when someone was unexpectedly gone for a couple days, how much losing a project manager or a superintendent would stop a project. And then if I think about multiplying that times 100, right, which is effectively what's happening now, it would have been catastrophic for us. But because we were digital and we were using these great tools, then we've had regular calls trying to keep up with how do we manage this, how do we keep people healthy and keep them, keep everything good. None of those conversations have really been around the digital side. There's been a couple things where it's like, hey, this call, we need more people on this WebEx. How do we get more people? Stuff like that. But because we were digital, that has not been a problem for us. And so, like Nasser was pointing out, I feel for those that had not made that transition, and they're probably in the midst of quite a bit of pain right now because they're not only trying to figure out how to keep working, but they also are trying to figure out how to keep people working safely and with good health. And so I am very appreciative. Of course, I've been a digital proponent for a number of years, and so, but it's great, and it really covers for that. Especially some people have a greater concern and are more susceptible, and so are less apt to engage in work right now. I have a lot greater concerns at home because of other family members or other conditions at home that are exacerbated by all of this. And so that digital workflow has probably kept us flowing about as well as we could have expected in a situation like this.
The final question I would like to ask before we return to questions from the audience starts with a statement. What we just went through was a disaster recovery event for every organization in the world. What will you do differently to prepare for the next time this happens?
One of the things that I would like to have done differently is we were not open to the work at home environment like other companies were, because we're a construction company. Some people were more than others and things like that. And so the general idea of what do we do because of tradition and what do we do out of necessity, and trying to keep that open so that way it's not such a culture shock when it hits. We've kept going quite well, but some individuals, of course, have felt quite a pain from this. And so I think the thing I want to do differently moving forward is being more open to, why do we do it this way? Do we need to do it this way?
Yeah, one thing with the inspection, I remember, I mean, our policy was, if you're inspected, you come in the office first, let's see your face first, let's make sure you're here, your inspection team check in, whatever you want to do, then go out the site. The inspector say, hey, I can, on my way home, I am way at the office, I can just, no, come over to the office, let's see you first. This is gone. We don't have to see you first. Now, the inspector is alone. He just lets us know, I'm going to go to the site as needed, and we know they're there, and we know they're covering their work, we know they're writing daily reports. So that's changed. That's totally changed, and more to come. That.
So obviously, because we're on the implementation stage, my answer is a little bit different. But what would I do different next time? I would try to invest in technologies that allows us to still offer, allows us to do our work from anywhere, remotely, electronically. I would like, but this is hard. Again, you need to work first on a culture change, and then you need to analyze the technology and try implement it. As I said, we're in a different situation, but I can see that once the construction opens up, even we work from home, definitely builder, having the workflows implemented in a builder will help a lot.
Yeah, so, and a couple of things that I've heard, just to wrap this particular question up, is laptops. Maybe it's a better idea, laptops versus desktops, because then you got the mobility. Andreea, you mentioned a couple times about RDP, so remote desktop, so people can tunnel into their machines and get to on-prem solutions. Good VPN, make sure you have good VPN capabilities in place. For us, it was upgrading some employees' bandwidth at home. Maybe they didn't have higher level bandwidth. I agree completely, Benjamin, with you. I'm hoping that one of your points of companies will be more open to work from home. I had a mentor early in my career who liked work from home because it eliminated input-based measures and shifted to output-based measures. So not that you were sitting in the office for 10 hours a day, that you got stuff done. And when you're at home, nobody knows if you're working 10 hours a day, you're working 4 hours a day, you're working 16 hours a day. All people know is what you're getting done or what you're not getting done. So anyways, I think those are some neat concepts.
Great. So yeah, we'll start off with one that is a bit of also a selfless promotion for next week's webinar, which is so well, I'll let the question speak for itself. It's not solely about this, but it definitely hits on these. So the question was, how are you handling bid openings for any of your CIP projects?
I can start with our city. The way it used to be is you would go into the purchasing department and all the contractors come in with their sealed envelopes and they're open in front of everybody and then read out loudly and summarized. Right now, they're going into some form of web hosting mechanism where they all can get into and watch everybody happening. So for me, I think this is far behind. I try to get a bidding. I'm not complaining about my city. I've been trying to get a bidding module in place. But we have a new financial system being put in place, so we had to wait until the system is finished to module. But that has been taking a couple of years to happen. So right now we don't have a digital bidding module, and it's actually a deficiency for us. It's one of the weak links for us going between design and construction. However, our purchasing team are working so hard trying to make things happen and meet our design production to get it into bidding and then construction. So it's a challenge for us right now because we don't have the digital tracking once it leaves the design team to purchasing department in different divisions, different departments. And once it comes back to construction, the contract is executed, then I have the digital tracking again and see where we at. So this is a big issue for us.
Same here for the city of Boston. We don't do biddings online at the moment. I just asked the departments, public facilities, public works, and parks and recs, how they do online biddings on Tuesday, and they said they have Tuesday and Friday office hours to still do this in person. And I know, especially my department, my colleagues from PeopleSoft side, they're trying to ramp this up to do online biddings via the PeopleSoft. But this is a work in progress, and hopefully next time we will have that available and will not experience this challenge.
One of my other final questions is going to be, what good do you think is going to come out of this situation? And I'm hoping, and this is riffing a little bit off of Benjamin, your point about work from home, I'm hoping some of these things that people said, absolutely not, we can't do this, like digital bidding, will start to break down. So Matt, what other questions do we have?
So this was a little bit of an observation by one of our attendees, but with a question at the end is actually someone from the city of Kansas City. So that basically different trades really weren't typically involved with the physical matters of the project are now sharing, getting progress photos shared with them, and everybody getting a feeling of belonging and feeling proud to be together in the achievements that are happening right now. But have you experienced any, the kind of a similar type of scenario with any of your coworkers, and are more people getting involved with kind of bigger picture things that are going on within your projects?
So I've seen quite a few people that over the years I've been trying to get more involved in virtual design and construction and all of this online stuff, that they get it now in the past 3 weeks. They're like, if we can figure all this out online first and then just go build it once. And I don't know why that didn't register with them that well before, but I've seen quite a few that are like, oh yeah, this makes sense. And so it's a lot back to what Nasr was talking about, someone having to drive into work just to get on a computer anyways, or drive into work just before they go to do their inspections as some sort of a checkpoint. And I think it comes to that our level of trust in each other is probably going to raise after this.
Yeah, I haven't seen much change since we're digital for a long time, but I've put an emphasis myself since being the lead admin at the city for eBuilder, is to look at the existing processes and see how they are, how I designed them years ago, and see how I can improve them to make them more efficient, to be more inclusive, and make it more efficient. So that's something I'm doing. Actually, I talked to one inspector the other day before yesterday, say, hey, it rained over the weekend. Make sure, I told my engineer, make sure the inspectors do water pollution control after rain report. And this used to be a 3-duplicate form that the guys did, and they passed it to everybody. So when the inspectors say, hey, Nasr, let's do a process for that. Let's just digitize it so everybody can see it, go through the review process. Something we missed, we didn't think it's important in the past, but now they're going to be going digital. So that's one thing that's going to be changed soon.
Great. So one last question from my standpoint, and actually there's a second question of which was directed to me, which I'll answer afterwards, is from a technology standpoint, for your opinion, basically for your opinions, what's been the greatest challenge within your organizations, specifically from technology side? Everybody looked up to the ceiling, tells you this one makes you think.
So, I mean, it kind of comes back to our greatest challenge was we are big proponents of lean construction. And so that's last planner meetings, that's getting all the foremen in the meeting for a huddle together every morning, and all that got wiped away. And so, yes, we have had a technology challenge there. Do we go to a virtual lean process for those huddles, which we'd actually resisted previously because they are not as effective when you can't get the participation and the people there participating. but they're more effective than not having the meeting. And
Right.
so that transition there has been a technology change, as in find, implement a new technology as quick as you can to cover for a very important aspect of our work that we're used to doing. That's been probably the biggest tough sticking point for us. And we think it's going to be better than having a group of 15 people all trying to stand 10 feet apart talking to each other.
Yeah, we had just my answer to Matt's question with our implementation team was similarly. Our implementations were very hands-on, a lot of time in person. I know, Benjamin, I've been watching the Yates implementation, and so it's, we like to be on site with our customers to do the implementation. And I think your lean example was perfect. It's the same thing for us. Is it better than? No. But then being in person, but you do have technologies, and we've had another one of our large customers went to a complete digital implementation, and there were certain parts that are better now of that, but we still look forward to going back to the time we can spend some time together.
Beyond the web-based platforms we have, technology-wise is existing. I mean, we quickly switched to online conferencing and so forth. So it's no problem. I didn't see a challenge, but the only problem we have sometimes when you have 10 people logging in a meeting and somebody has an audio issue, somebody has a cell phone, the computer on the same time, you hear the echo. So you spend 5-10 minutes trying to figure out the bugs before you start. And then there's always somebody who has something in the background, equipment or a kid or some sound. It's distracting. You don't hear everything well, but you just got to do well with it and just go on and concentrate. That's one of the issues with, online meetings. It's different.
Something I'm trying to promote with online meetings is you could still take a break every hour for like 10 minutes. It's like when we go to online meetings, they think, oh, we're going to meet from 1 till 4 and just want to sit it out. And I'm like, we could still turn our monitors off and go take a break for 5 minutes and come back. So I want everybody on this call to remember that if you remember nothing else, take breaks.
That's actually an awesome point. Yeah, it's especially for people that can go long times without breaks. For me, it's also just the ability to get some water and rehydrate. So that's you're hitting my wrap-up question. So all right. So really, what I want to do from a wrap-up perspective is is there any final advice that you would like to give to those on those in the audience as far as lessons learned? Or so Benjamin said, make sure you give bio breaks. So that's a good one. Nasser or Andreea, anything that you want to add?
So obviously from the organizational point of view, our advice is to invest in the right technologies, to implement the right technologies that help your workforce to work remotely. But from the personal point of view, I would advise everyone to have a comfortable place where they can work, stay healthy, and stay connected with each other. Even making a call and check on your teammate, that means a lot on times like this.
There's no question organizations, public agencies, and private companies have to go digital. The old way of doing paperwork management and workflows and paper shuffling in the office is not going to happen. Even when we come back after this pandemic, there's going to be people are scared, who are worried, and people are going to say, hey, this works, online works, working from home works. So organizations have to invest in digital platforms and make it web-based. So in this case, just in case it happens again at this level, they wouldn't be faced with total shutdown from the regular workforce. We are fortunate that in my division that we have e-builder in place. This made our decision making about continuing to work with the contractors and with our design operations much easier. There are some other smaller divisions, some little sections that they have to shut down because there's not much they can do online. Everything is paper. So that's the advice. Invest in the future and go digital, definitely.
And I know, and I'll end on this comment with this particular session is, Andreea, you had mentioned as far as taking this opportunity to really accelerate your implementation you're going through. And one of the things that we're doing is, and Nasser, you mentioned that with your inspection workflow, you're going through and really saying, are we optimized? Are we running optimally? And so I'd encourage folks that have invested in technology that now's the time to really, really make sure that you're optimizing your use of that technology, whatever that technology is. And that's what we're doing here at Trimble. We're going through every process that we have. So when this ends, and it will end, that you come out of it stronger than when you went into it rather than weaker. So definitely those who have not yet made a jump to a cloud-based project management solution, I think this is hopefully, like Benjamin, I was thinking your point about VDC, and people are like, man, we should have done this. I hope at a minimum, one piece of good news that comes out of this is you realize the cloud is your friend. It's not your enemy. And you need to make that investment. All right, I'd like to conclude today's webinar by giving you instructions on how to find the recordings. If you're an owner customer, you can go to e-builder.net, click on the resource link, and then you'll find a section under events and webinars where you can click on upcoming events and webinars, and all of the recordings from this series will be listed there. If you're a contractor, you can come to projectsite.trimble.com, click the resources link, and then you'll see a link for events and webinars. And if you click there, you'll also see a list of the webinars from this series. I'd like to once again thank our speakers, and I'd like to thank you for listening to today's session. I hope you stay safe and well. Thank you.